Hey everybody, Rocky Mountain Oyster Sauce here, also known as Gangish, the person who runs the channel Gangish. This is my channel. Um, I've decided to tell another story that I have. This is going to be the story about the crime that sent me to prison, the crimes that sent me to prison the first time. I couldn't decide exactly which route to go as far as telling the story, where to do this, where to do that, or to break it up, and I didn't know what to do. And I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do one cut, unedited, no notes, no nothing. I'm going to tell the story one time. Because it's my story. I know the story. I may have to stop to let the dog in because he's doing this. He's already kind of breathing hard. It's hot out here. But he's a Frenchie. So here we go. We're gonna start the story in like September 1st, 2001, right? One of the big homies. I have my own apartment. I think I'm I'm 17 at the time, maybe no 18 at the time. I'm 18 at the time. I've got my own apartment. I live in a bad neighborhood, but I've got my own apartment, paying like $400 a month for this little place, no air conditioning or nothing. And you know, but I'm ripping and running with the homies and doing my thing. So one of the big homies shows up, but this fool's not supposed to be out of jail. I already know he's not supposed to be out of jail. And I'm not sure exactly what happened, but this fool just shows up out of nowhere. And he actually is with this girl that I'm really close to. She's like my sister type situation, one of those. But they were together. They were like a couple, right? And so he comes to the house and we're just kicking it. And I'm like, you know, I'm not going to turn him away. I know he's supposed to be in jail. I did know he was supposed to be in jail, though. I can't lie. But I just wasn't sure exactly what happened. But he goes, can I use your phone? And this is back, we had like telephones, line telephones. I said, yeah, go ahead. So he calls up the homegirl, the one that he messes around with, and he says, and she goes, well, I guess give him the phone or whatever. So he hands me the phone, and she says, hey, this fool, you know his situation, right? I said, yeah, I kind of knew, you know. And she goes, well, you're kind of in the same situation, right? Not really. I was doing my thing. I was ripping and running, but I wasn't wanted. But I mean, I was doing crime. I was committing crime. And she says, well, you know, I said, you know, what's the deal? You know, and she goes, well, can he stay with you? And I said, yeah, I ain't tripping. I had, like I said, I had a 1-bedroom apartment. I didn't have a lady at the time. And the what you call was there was a couch free in the living room. So I said, okay, cool. So I says, yeah, that's cool. He goes, yeah. And so he gets off the phone, talks to her, says bye or whatever. And he was like, it's cool if I stay, dog. I was like, yeah, it's good, dog. Don't even trip. He's like, cool. So this fool pulls out a big old bag of dope. He pulls out 9 ounces of fucking cocaine, right? He's made where it was a quarter bird. I don't know if he still had 9 left. I think he had already sold one. He had like a cell phone, and we didn't really have cell phones back then, but this fool had like cell phone, like $800, and like 8 ounces of fucking cocaine, right? Okay. So I'm like, cool. I didn't really do cocaine at the time. It was never really my trip. It was more speed. I preferred speed as far as that goes. But I said, cool, at least homie will be able to support himself, right? Because I was actually working at the time. I was working and hustling. I was doing like banquets. I was making like $11.50 an hour, which wasn't bad. This was like 20 years ago. I was making $11.50 an hour, 18 years old. So I was cool. I was supporting myself, and I was hustling on the side, committing crime on the side. So things were going well. So later on that night, some of the homies come over. And we're all supposed to go to this party. I don't know where the fuck. It was like a kegger or something like that. I don't remember exactly what it was. But I remember we were supposed to go to a kegger. Somebody had a ridiculous gun, like an SKS or something like that. One of my homies showed up with like an SKS. And it was like there was no reason for it. We weren't doing anything. This wasn't even really our neighborhood or our part of town to be tripping in. This was actually like I had gotten an apartment in like a white neighborhood. There was no reason for this SKS. It's just unnecessary, dude. You know, but okay, whatever. So this fool shows up with this thing. We're all kicking it. We're all supposed to be going to the car. The cars are like maybe 2 blocks from the house. Somewhere within this 2 blocks, my homie got freaked out. My homie with all the cocaine. I don't know what did it. I don't know if it was the SKS that did it. I don't know what did it. But this fool takes off running. And he can fly like a bat out of hell, right? So they come and get me. They're like, hey, fool just took off. Oh, man. This fool. Okay, so he takes off, I guess. I shouldn't have just said his name there. I'm gonna bleep that out. That's why that took me a second to, but I'm still not gonna edit this. I'm just gonna bleep that out. Sorry, I kicked that. Okay, so anyway, so he's gone, right? And I already know not to chase him. There's no need in chasing him, right? They're like, no, we're gonna go look for him. I'm like, you're gonna go. I was like, we should probably leave the SKS. But and the homie's like, no, I want to take it. I'm like, okay, fine, whatever, dude. Go drive around looking for this crazy fool with a bunch of cocaine while he's freaking out. I'm bleeping that out too. He's known for going crazy like this. He kind of does that sometimes. Sometimes he'll just freak out, do too much. So anyway, here nor there. So this fool's gone. I said, you know what? After that, they go driving around and they come back. And they're talking to me, and I'm like, you know what? I'm over it. I'm over the situation. I actually had to work tomorrow, not super early, but I was like, you know what? I'm over it. You guys could go search for him all you want. Here, I got to let my dog in. He's gonna start whining. Okay. Don't start barking, fool. So, he's going to start barking. I should close the door on him. All right. So now, my crazy ass homeboy took off. He's got cell phone, $800, bunch of cocaine, like 8 ounces of cocaine. Missing, right? These fools are driving around looking for him with an SKS. I'm going to bed. I wake up the next morning, 4:35 in the morning. Still remember, it's super dusky. So I come out and I look around, and is sitting on the couch in the front room. Nobody else is there. I'm gonna bleep his name out again. Bleep that out. And I says, what are you doing, homie? And he looks up at me, and that fool was so sad. He said, I lost it. I said, what? He said, I lost it. I said, you lost what? He said, I lost my bag with the dope and the money in it. I said, what are you talking about? He said, I freaked out. I thought they were coming to get me. I took off. I stashed it underneath the car. I hopped a couple fences. I stashed it underneath the car. And I don't know where it is. I said, you're bullshit. He said, would I? And I could see it in his face. He wasn't lying. I said, nah, homie, we got to go look. So we spend the rest of the day walking around the neighborhood, but this fool could run so fast. He's so fast. Okay, so this fool's gone, right? The dope's gone. So we spend the whole day, maybe a day and a half, looking for it, driving around different neighborhoods, trying to identify this. He's got this on the cuff, right? From serious people that aren't happy about the situation, but he goes and tells them. Right? So this is where the story kind of amps up real quick. He goes and tells them. They says, check it out. They're not tripping on him. They're not like, we're going to kill you or nothing like that. It's $4,500. That's what he owed them, $4,500. We were getting bricks for like 17, 16.5, something like that. So he was paying 45. I know how much he owed. He owed 4,500 for the quarter brick. So they said, listen, man. And they know that he's stupid. They know he's an idiot and freaks out like this. Like you can't do a half ounce of cocaine in a night. There's no way that he just messed it off or nothing like that. You can't do it. So they says, listen, dude, bring us back $2,000 and we'll put you back on. He says, okay, cool. So he comes and tells me, he goes, I need to get on. I need $2,000 to get on. So we get started again. I said, all right. So what you want to do? He goes, well, I know what I know how to do. I said, well, what's that? And he goes, well, I hit houses, burglarizes houses. And I already knew that. I already knew his MO. I knew the type of stuff that he did. I've done it before. I have even had convictions for it as a juvenile. So I was in the game too. Nothing like him. He was more of a professional type situation. So anyway, he says, I says, okay, cool. So then roll the title credits. We start kicking indoors. I mean, that is what it is. So we're maybe I don't know how long into it, how many houses into it, but numerous houses into this spree, trying to get 2,000. I mean, we're selling things. Hit a house, 2 or 3 houses in a day, sell all the stuff that we could. You know, money wasn't around back then like it is now. Like $2,000, you just come up with $2,000, you know, real quick in a robbery, real quick. Now, back then it was kind of hard, you know. Sell a used TV for like $50 or something like that. I remember we had a TV, one of them big ass Sony TVs, and it was one of the ones with picture-in-picture. And we was haggling with it was like, nah, fool, $200, and we wanted $200 because they had picture-in-picture, because nobody else had picture-in-picture back then. But anyway, the point is, so we're on a crime spree, doing our thing, and we get to, apparently, somewhere along the line, we burglarized a cop's house. Well, I mean, I knew that we robbed the cop's house. I shouldn't say it like that. But they showed up while the homie was in the house, right? So this fool takes off. These 2 homies take off. They're in the house, right? They take off. The getaway down the way. Because I'm not as fast as these fools. These fools are a lot lighter on their feet, you know. I'm a bigger dude. I was even a bigger dude back then. So they take off, or they take off. Homie gets to, they take off. He's in a 69. No, I'm not going to say the type of car it is. It's an old muscle car. Let's put it that way. It's an old muscle car. So he's in. I don't want to get too specific in some of this. I should tone that back. So he's in an old muscle car, and the people try to block him in. This fool peels out and like goes off the little balcony. Like he was up in the driveway, and they tried to block him in, and he kind of peels out off onto the grass. They couldn't keep up with him. He was gone, right? So he calls me, and he says, man, meet me back at the spot. He says, everything went south. Meet me back at the spot. Okay, cool. So I meet him back at the spot. He says, man, everything went south. People came. The problem was we had borrowed the car from his cousin, the muscle car. So they had gotten the license plate. I didn't know that they hadn't changed out their license plates. I was in a different car. So he calls his cousin and he says, listen, man, shit went bad. Call the cops and report your car stolen, is what he tells him. He goes, all right, cool. So we're chilling. We're dividing up all the stuff at my crib. We're, okay, what's this? What's this? I want some of this. I want some of this. And his cousin calls and says, I told him that I was at the bar last night and that I got super drunk and I just took a cab home. And that I went back today and then my car's missing. And we said, okay, cool. Good story, right? So he said, okay, well, what do you want to do? He goes, I'll tell you what, just come back tonight, bring me the keys, and I'll just tell me where the car is, and then in like a day or two, I'll go find the car, and I'll tell him, hey, I found my car, because it's a muscle car, like it stands out, right? So he said, I'll just tell him that I found my car. I said, okay, cool. So we're chilling. We think everything's good. We think we got away from the situation, and the whatchamacall's been pawned off. The car's been pawned off, right? So later on that night, we go to a liquor store. And we go to the liquor store because the dude lives there. The cousin, or not lives there, he works there. The cousin works there. So we get there, and as we pull up, and it's all three of the homies that I was talking about earlier. And my stepfather had given us a ride over because he was all legit. We had all the stuff in the car, all the loot in the car, and he had a legit car because everything was kind of sketch, right? Because that we didn't want to be messing with either of the cars that we were in earlier. So we pull up to the thing, and it goes the big homie in front, and then me, and then the other homie behind me, and then my stepdad was in the back as we were coming in. And as we were coming in, the big homie was like 2 or 3 steps in front of me. He was tall, a lot taller than me. And he steps in, and I hear him say, "What the fuck?" And he turns around and looks at me, and whenever he looks at me, his eyes get really, really big. And that was it. He takes off running for the back of the store. The back of the store, there's a door, right? So he's thinking if he can get through that door, he can get to the alleyway. So this fool does a Bruce Lee jump kick and just boom, right into it. It's in the bathroom, right? And as he ran, this all happened simultaneously. As he runs and jump kicks the door, dude runs past me with a gun. And I said, "What the fuck?" So I see the gun, so I turn around and look, and there's another gun in my face. So I turn back around, and I see my homie, he kicked the door open, realized it was the bathroom, pivoted, and just drilled this cop right in his face, right? Boom! Cracks him. And like 2 more cops go, right? Well, I turn around, and I'm like this. The cop's got the thing on me, and I'm backing up. But the cop's scared. He doesn't know what to do. So the cops, he's, "Get on the ground, get on the ground." And it was like, whenever you walked in the store, you could go straight into the back of the store where the employees were. That's where the big homie went. Or you could go, the cash register was right here. There was an aisle that went like this, and then aisles that went back down towards the front of the store. So I'm backing up. I jumped to the side, and I jumped down here. I like army dived down the aisle because I got a bunch of dope, right? And I got a bunch of stolen loot from the burglary we just did. I got like a pocket full of jewelry, right? So I go crawling down the thing, and I didn't really know. They said it was a robbery. That was the crazy thing, is I say cops, but honestly, they said it was a robbery. They said, "Get on the floor, this is a robbery." So I thought we were being robbed. So I took my money, I took my dope, and I took all the jewelry that I had in my pockets, and I shoved it in between some liquor boxes because the aisles were made of liquor boxes. And I could hear him screaming, "Where's the big dude? Where's the big dude?" And I was like, "It's cool, I'm here." And the whole time, my big homie's fighting with these fools. That's what's like the big scene why they're not able to get a hold of this situation, is because this dude is actually scrapping with them. And so they eventually get him in like a 6-pack. If you know what that is, whenever they basically like hog tie you, it's bad. But they had to like carry that fool out like a 6-pack, like a log or something like that. But so I jump up, and I'm like, "Hey man, it's cool, man. I don't know what's going on, because I've already dumped all my money and all my dope and everything, and even if they rob me, I don't got nothing on me, So I'm like, "Hey man, it's cool." So the cop goes, "Yeah, that's him. That's the one right there." So they snatched me up, and at the time, they used to call me Perm, so I had a full like pompadour, talking like John Travolta with the long ponytail in the back, like the mullet ponytail, 2000, a la 2000, like the, what is it, the lesbian mullet or something like that? Is that what it's called? But so the cop they see me, and and the cop's talking shit to me. He's like, "Oh yeah, you're going to jail." I said, "Man, I don't even know what you're talking about. I don't know nothing about this." And then the homie that's on the ground, the other dude that was in the house, he's telling the cops, he's like, "Dude," and he doesn't really dress like us, right? He was one of us, but he dressed like a punk rocker. He would dress like Metallica jean jackets and shit like that. So he didn't kind of look like he didn't really belong with us. We were like gangbangers. And he's like, "Man, I don't even know what's going on." And the cop picks him up. And the cop says, looks at me, he goes, "Is this guy with you?" I was like, "Man, I don't fucking know that dude." And they picked him up, and they uncuffed him and they let him go, right? So now we're sitting there. They done hog-tied the homie. They're questioning my stepdad. He don't know nothing. He's spilling all the beans, but it ain't even his fault because he don't know no better. You know what I mean? He's just telling them the truth. So they're telling they're talking to my stepdad, and they said, well, he said mention something about the other guy, about the dark guy, and they said what? They said the dark guy, the dark Mexican. They said who? They said we got him, the tall skinny fool, and me, the fat fool with the ponytail. He goes, no, there was another one. He tells them there was another dude with him. So they come tell me, they say, who was that other dude? I said, man, I don't know what you're talking about. So then we're sitting there, and they got the eyewitness, and the eyewitness, you could hear, and she's talking crazy. She's like, I don't give a shit. I ain't scared of none of these people. I'll look right at him. You ain't got to shine a light in his face. Roll the window down. And she walks right up on me, and she looks at me, and she goes, I told you it was a Mexican. That's a white boy. And what it was, she said a Mexican with a ponytail. She goes, I told you it was a Mexican with a ponytail. That's a white boy with a ponytail. That ain't him. I don't know who that is. And she walks off, right? So now we're hemmed up. And no matter what, there's too much stolen loot in the back of this thing. They find out where I live. They hit me for a bunch of burglaries, right? So I almost immediately, what did I do? No, I had already been on the run from juvenile. That's a whole list of other stories. These stories are going to bounce around a lot, but that's a whole list of other stories. So this is just starting the adult time. So I had owed some time from being a juvenile. I was still on the run, still escaped from a juvenile, and was working and had an apartment and everything else. That's kind of how it was back then. It wasn't all the systems weren't connected like now. You could kind of fly under the radar with things. So where was I? Okay, we just got arrested. They wrapped us up. Nobody says anything. Everybody just tells them, whatever. Okay. Yeah, so that's what happens. So I bond out into work release. But they make a deal with me, and they say if we'll give you 2 years for what you did as a juvenile, but we'll turn it into work release because you've already got a job and you've already got a place to live and all these other things. We'll turn it into work release so that way you can at least still keep your job. Because I had a good job. Like I said, I was making $11.50 like 20 years ago. Okay, cool. So I wasn't even about that. I was trying to go gangbang and be in the lanes and all that other stuff. I mean, I said yes, but as soon as I got to I was doing the same stuff, doing all the same business, nothing good. And I ended up running, I believe. Yeah, I ran. And then I got an escape charge as well. So then, before I had even resolved all of those other burglary charges, I caught another escape charge, which was a felony that stacked on top of it. And that was the straw that broke the camel's back. That and the fact that the house that we hit was a cop's house, and there was a bunch of guns that were taken, and like a badge and some other shit that were taken, and they don't take that. I mean, we already sold that shit. That shit was long. That's the thing, is they kept coming to us and telling me. They even offered me a deal several times. They kept coming to me. They're like, they were trying to get me to testify on my homeboy. I was like, nah, I'm not going to do that. Fuck off. And so then they come back. They're like, all right, listen, you don't got to testify against your homie. Could you just help us get some of these fucking guns back and like the badges back? I swear. They were like, but I couldn't even if I wanted to. I had done sold them to the homies. God knows what they did with them. Who knows what they did with them? I have no idea. I certainly wasn't going to give them my homies, so I couldn't have given those badges back if they wanted. If my life depended on it, I don't think I could have got those badges back. So that was out of the question. That was it. That got me sent to prison. That they were like, yeah, do not pass go. You're done, dude. You're gone. So I guess next I should do a video about first day in prison. That's all I got. Bye, everybody.